exciting plays yet.
Well, it was on this floor in game one, remember, Simmons misses the first. This crowd trying to help out Ben Simmons. And he misses again. He's missed 5 consecutive free throws now. Cleared out for him. Tapping his way in. Spins on Gallinari. Gives it up. Oh, he was right there. And a foul as Thibault goes to the basket. Boy, Simmons, uncontested, had a layup, but he leaves it for Thibault.
He can't recover from this. The locker room won't recover from it. And so when they went to the Hacker Shack, basically, the Hacker Simmons, that just killed him.
I think all of it. You hit on all of it. I ain't shoot well from the line this series. Offensively, I wasn't there. I ain't doing enough for my teammates. But there's a lot. There's a lot of things I need to work on.
Yo, what is up, you guys? Welcome back to Second Take. It's Saif here, and today we're going to be discussing one of the most hated players in the NBA right now, Ben Simmons. Now, before we get started, I just want to apologize for the extended absence that we have taken from the channel, as it was due to the fact that me and Vishwa are both now full-time YouTubers and are dealing with some ongoing copyright issues. But during the month of July and August, do expect much more consistency in our uploads. But anyways, as all of you guys watching now, the Philadelphia 76ers have recently just been eliminated from the playoffs in the second round by the Atlanta Hawks in a Game 7 fashion as the number 1 seed. There are obviously multiple reasons why the number 1 seed Sixers fell to the 5th seed Hawks, which is obviously a discussion for another video, but in today's video, I'm specifically going to be examining Ben Simmons and particularly his abysmal playoff performance and why it happened. Some discussion about his overall game, and then looking toward the future of his NBA career involving where he'll end up next season and how he can regain a better reputation in the NBA. Just a quick disclaimer, this is not a negative video towards Ben Simmons at all, but rather even more of a neutral to positive opinion on him. So with that being said, please smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I promise you will not regret it, and let's get straight into the video. To begin with, we'll first start with his round 1 performance against the Washington Wizards, in which then we'll move on to round 2 against the most recent Atlanta Hawks. To the surprise of everyone, Simmons actually wasn't doing that bad in round 1 against the Wizards, as he averaged 14.8 points, 10.2 rebounds, and 9.2 assists while shooting 64% from the field in 32 minutes a game while playing stellar defense, holding Russell Westbrook to only 33% from the field. But unfortunately, when the hate first started for him was when due to his terrible free throw shooting, as he had an all-time playoff low 35.7% from the charity stripe. Overall, winning the series in 5 games was a huge confidence booster for the Sixers as a whole going into round 2. However, when things started to take a tumble for Simmons was in round 2, where Simmons averaged an extremely low 9.8 points, 8.5 assists, and 6.3 rebounds, shooting an even worse 32.6 from the foul line on 7 attempts, meaning he was purposely getting fouled each more for this reason. Simmons attempted less than 7 shots a game according to ESPN stats, and he never scored once in the fourth quarter of the final 4 games of the series. Game 5 featured no 76ers besides superstar Joel Embiid and Seth Curry recording a field goal in the second half, and both these guys combined for 73 of the 106 points in the losing effort. It also didn't help that Tobias Harris just disappeared in Game 5, and Embiid was playing on a partially torn meniscus throughout the series, and they were missing Danny Green, who was a vital part in their shooting and defense. When their best player is suffering an injury like that, it is expected that the supporting cast takes on a bigger scoring role, but no one on the Sixers other than Harris and Curry could score the ball. Bad coaching strategies and schemes on both ends of the floor by Doc Rivers also played a huge role. At the end of the day though, this team simply wasn't good enough, and you have to tip your hat to the Atlanta Hawks as led by coach Nate McMillan and Trae Young. Their team play and ball movement was simply unbelievable in tearing apart the Sixers. Now, to get to Simmons' overall game, if you heard those stats I said on him, you normally think those are really good stats, but if you really watch the game, boy, Ben Simmons was an offensive liability as he passed up open shots like an open dunk he had in Game 7, and he would show no aggression even with a near 7-foot frame. Yes, Simmons is one of the best defenders in the league, also earning a first team honors this year, but if you are an all-star player, you have to be able to deliver offensively somehow, and his inability to score the ball or knock down free throws really earned him a lot of hate, especially already given the fact his inability to shoot. But like I said in the beginning of this video, this is not a Simmons hate video, and in fact now I'll be defending him and why he can still be an elite player in the future instead of being a Shanghai Sharks scrub. First of all, you can't really blame the series on one player, and that's simply not how team basketball works. If only playmaking is Simmons' job, no one else besides Embiid, Harris, or Curry proved to be a reliable scoring punch, and the bench play was only good defensively, with Matisse Thybulle, Shake Milton, and Dwight Howard leading the charge. Secondly, even in Game 7, Joel Embiid, who had reportedly threw shade on Simmons for passing up a wide open dunk, had 8 turnovers, including a costly turnover and 2 breaks in the last 2 minutes. Some other factors I'd like to tie in are also that Doc Rivers may purposely not want him to be a scorer on the team and change up his game plan. Tobias Harris also said after Game 7 that the Hawks deserved a lot of credit, and the 76ers offense also became really stagnant as a whole towards the end. Another thing to notice is that it is very hard for Simmons to score the ball when his scoring primarily relies on post scoring and slashing, with Harris and Embiid taking those opportunities and clogging the paint. In fact, I actually think he could change his position to power forward instead of point guard, because if you take a look at all the point guards on the contending team, they have the ability to score the basketball: James Harden on the Nets, Drew Holiday on the Bucks, Chris Paul on the Suns, and so on. He was actually expected to switch to the 4 a couple seasons back when Markelle Fultz was the point guard for the team, but Simmons ended up changing his mind, which resulted in Fultz's departure. There also needed to be a certain type of team around him to flourish really well. If you date back to Simmons' first season, he and the 76ers were flourishing with a lineup of Simmons, JJ Redick, Robert Covington, Dario Saric, and Joel Embiid, which had more shooters around him. Lastly, I personally believe that a huge part of it was also mental, as Simmons was missing all those free throws, which are supposed to be confidence boosters. The fan hate and his non-existent shooting may also have been a key in demoralizing his aggressiveness on the offensive end. What I firmly believe is that Simmons just doesn't fit well on the Sixers and desperately needs a change of scenery, as do the Sixers also needing to move on from him. Before we dive into Ben Simmons' outlook for the next season, realize that he was compared to LeBron James, and he could become that player mold if he could make significantly huge strides on the offensive end. It is also rare finding a 7-footer with this athleticism, ball handling ability, and court vision, and Simmons is also only at the age of 24. Doc Rivers had also said in the press conference that unlike Brett Brown, he does not want Simmons shooting any threes, which only hinders the self-confidence that Simmons should have if he is to reach his true potential. Now, we'll be examining where he'll end up next season. First and foremost, like I said before, unless the 76ers want to somehow believe in him at the power forward position along with Embiid, which probably won't happen, a different team for Simmons is most likely in hand. Now, I'll be breaking down 4 possible trades that would work out well for both the 76ers and Simmons. This first trade is with the Portland Trail Blazers, which actually features 2 possible combinations. The first trade features a flat-out Simmons for CJ McCollum swap. Out of all trade scenarios, this one probably makes the most sense for both sides. Both fan bases are clearly ticked off by both these players, and what better way to resolve the situation by having both these guys on new teams. Let's first start with Philly. What would they gain out of this? McCollum has blossomed into a terrific scorer in the NBA, and another shot creator may be exactly what the Sixers need along with Embiid to contend further. However, this trade may seem some drawbacks as they are losing defense for offense. But going off where we saw in the playoffs, I think the trade is more than ideal for the Sixers. As for the Portland Trail Blazers, the fit could actually be a really interesting one, as we could see or all foresee another Steph Curry, Draymond Green type of duo with both Lillard and Simmons, with Simmons playing the 4 and even the small ball 5, which could cause a lot of problems for other teams. The other trade revolving Portland is Simmons, Tyrese Maxey, Furkan Korkmaz, a first and second round pick, to Portland in return for superstar Damian Lillard. This trade has a similar impact for the 76ers, but much bigger in hopes of winning the title, but it has the Blazers going into rebuild mode, which wouldn't really turn out to be the worst situation if Simmons is actually developed well. Another trade features the 76ers rolling the dice by trading Simmons and Furkan Korkmaz to the Houston Rockets for John Wall and a future first round pick. This works well for the Sixers because they would get a reliable primary ball handler in Wall, who might be a veteran but could lead both sides with his own shot, as well as create for others, and is also not that bad of a defender himself. Even though he has a massive contract and his injuries could hold him back a lot, he can still contribute much better offensively for the team and take a lot of pressure off Embiid. As for the Rockets, this trade features them add Simmons to their young core of Kevin Porter Jr., Christian Wood, Deshaun Tate, and Kenyon Martin Jr. Simmons would be able to thrive really well at the power forward position as a facilitator, and the Rockets would have 2 very good facilitating and scoring threats, in addition to a possible very high draft pick, either Jalen Jalen Green, Suggs, or Jonathan Kuminga. One more trade involves Simmons taking his talents to the Sacramento Kings in return for Buddy Hield, Marvin Bagley, and a future second-round pick. Similar to the previous trades I mentioned, this trade gives Philly another scorer in the backcourt next to Seth Curry and Buddy Hield, who has proven to be a really terrific volume shooter and one of the league's top shooters. As for Marvin Bagley, he would most likely either start at the 4 next to Tobias Harris and Joel Embiid off the bench as a backup 5. He hasn't had quite the career for a number 2 overall pick so far, but pairing him with a superstar like Embiid may really elevate his game. As for the Kings, Ben Simmons would be played at the power forward role and another facilitator next to rising star De'Aaron Fox. Similar to the Dame-Simmons combo I mentioned earlier, this type of duo could really cause problems given how athletic and fast both Fox and Simmons are. Sacramento is also another really ideal destination for Simmons to blossom his game even more. This final trade involves sending Ben Simmons, Matisse Thybulle, and a future first-round pick, and possibly another player, maybe Mike Scott, for an all-star Bradley Beal of the Washington Wizards. Without a doubt, Beal would definitely make the 76ers a terrific team offensively, even though once again defense would emerge as an issue. As he also has the ability to create for others, having a trio of Beal, Harris, and Embiid would be pretty much unstoppable in Philly. As for the Wizards, this trade would likely put them into a full-on rebuild mode, blowing up their team by also getting rid of Russell Westbrook too. Simmons would have complete offensive freedom and less pressure in Washington, but it is unlikely that Washington would do. I'd likely see them either completely blow it up by trading for more draft picks or keeping to win now by adding a third star around Beal and Westbrook. Wherever Simmons ends up next season, I still think he can blossom into an elite two-way player, but Philly just might not be the correct team. Everyone forgets that he was a runner-up for Defensive Player of the Year and is a 2-time All-Star. With his defensive versatility, it's only a matter of time before Simmons develops much more offensively to live up to the hype in the right situation. There are reports that Ben Simmons will not be playing in the Olympics in order to work on his own skill set much more. He may even be shooting with the wrong hand, but he has the offseason to work and develop much more offensively. As for the rumors that Simmons never put any work by Stephen A. Smith, I just don't buy that, and I believe that people are just trying to find further ways to demoralize him. Either way, I firmly believe that Simmons can live up to the All-Star name, especially given his foreseeable work ethic. He has already mastered the defensive end, and the fact that he's only 24 years old. Let us know in the comments your reflection on the 76ers' unfortunate end to the season. Let us know in the comments your reflection of the 76ers' unfortunate ending to the season, where Ben Simmons will end up next season, and if he can still flourish at a high level for the rest of his career ahead of him. And with that being said, I hope you enjoyed today's video after a long while. Please smash that like button if you enjoyed, and remember to subscribe to the channel. Thank you guys for watching, and peace.